Luca in New York.
Hey, what's happening, guys?
Hey, how are you?
Hi.
I wanted to have a really long conversation about solipsism, if it's okay.
Why, certainly. Have you got a time machine?
Yeah.
No, kidding aside, I did have a point to make about Christianity, and I'm going to go ahead and do the thing where I cover my earpiece because I do hear a little bit of an echo.
Go for it.
So
Okay.
We'll need to interrupt. I was thinking about the trend in history of Christianity. If we look at the average Christian today and the number of claims and commandments from the Bible that he accepts versus the ones that believe they're accepted by your average Christian 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago, it's diminished so much. I mean, however terrifying it is that 40% of people in America believe that the Earth is 6,000 years old, it's not 100%. And people used to burn witches alive, and people used to actively believe in slavery, and the number of Bible claims has been reduced a lot over time. And the number of atheists has been growing. And if you look at your average Christian family, it's much more common that the children are slightly less pious and curious about the religion than their parents, as opposed to the other way around. So as long as these trends continue, don't you think that basically we've won the battle? That, there's been an oil spill and it takes a long time to clean it up. So basically, Christianity is destined to wind down, at least in Europe and America and the civilized world.
All right, I'm going to put you on hold so that we can try and kill the audio thing. We're not hanging up.
Okay. Yeah, I think actually John Loftus addressed this once on his blog, and I think Bart Ehrman has talked about it too, that basically Christianity has been forced to sort of evolve, or it would have died a long time ago. Because if you look at, initially what the original, Catholic Church required of people, and then later after the Protestants got on the scene and everything, what was required of them. If you look at that, very few people would be willing to follow that. So I think that there's some evidence that it's had to evolve. And one of the things that you mentioned, slavery and some of the other issues, that the church has taken a different stance today than it had originally on those issues. And I use the church as sort of like this monolithic thing, which Christianity really isn't. But that's kind of another argument for Christianity as sort of an idea morphing itself to fit our changing view of how we relate to each other. And so I think that Christianity has been heavily influenced by secular morality and our secular notions of what's right and wrong. And it had to, because otherwise I think it would have died long ago.
Yeah, I mean, if we only look at the trends, not only what's actually trending now within the modern religions, the other trend is that all religions die.
Yeah.
And what tends to kill them off is their inability to be flexible. And as if you put out too rigid a pronouncement about the way the world is, and while science doesn't prove anything, when our knowledge gets to a point where your rigid declaration about how the world works is obviously wrong, your religion is going to die off or it's going to change. And what we see is that the older religions, actually, there's a little caveat here, in that some of the religions were incredibly flexible, but died off for other reasons. It's not the only thing that kills off a religion. Culture wars and clashes, and what do individual religions propose to offer to the adherents. I think that we're going to see this trend continue, and what we're going to end up with is some segment of the population is always going to believe something that everybody else would consider to be nonsense. To consider that we're going to have some segment of the population that's almost always going to be superstitious. And we see this because ritual exists outside of religion, and believing in supernatural things isn't necessarily constrained to religion. We see this in pseudoscientific beliefs and the various things that get labeled as woo. Eventually, I think you're going to kind of get. I think science and truth will always win out in the end, barring some catastrophe that eliminates them. But that you'll end up with a huge section of the population who may not necessarily understand the real world at the level of the most elite with the scientific knowledge, but they're on board. They're worried, focused on reality. They don't really have any concern or issue, and don't really believe the superstitious nonsense. And then the portion of the population that believes in the superstitious stuff will continue to decrease, but I don't think it'll ever go away. And at least until we, perfect a brain that's immune from emotional pleas and logical fallacies, and then we're probably not human anymore.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you say that this introduction of this flexibility element to Christianity, and even just the fact that it's split into Catholicism and Protestants and whatnot, that in itself represents a very heavy blow to their monopoly over what people think.
Sure.
Yeah.
And if the trend continues, eventually it's going to just become so fragmented that it basically dissolves,
I think that's the case. I think that Christianity and Judaism and Scientology and Mormons and Protestants, Catholics of all stripes, that their religions will go the way of the dodo. The question that you had asked earlier was, have we won the war? And absolutely not. One of the key issues is when the rational, non-theistic members of society have gotten complacent and assumed that we've got this religion thing beaten, and tried to say, okay, let's just kind of, let them have their little delusions or whatever. They've put us in a position where there's a backlash. So you get religiosity tends to do this as it climbs for a while and then drops and then climbs for a while. Well, actually, I guess maybe it would be hopefully this way.
Trending down.
Trending
I think.
down. Trending down overall.
If
I would
interrupt you. I can barely hear what you. I mean, I can hear what you're saying, but I can barely understand it because of this echo issue.
Sure.
So
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and go. But before I do that, I mean, my point was just that what validates Christian person's belief is the fact, or at least historically, would have been that everybody in the world believes the same thing as him.
I don't think that's true.
No.
I don't think that's true, and I don't think it's really ever been true.
Yeah.
I think it's been a common claim, and I'm going to let you go so you don't have to listen to the echo. I think it's been a common claim, you hear this, well, everybody believes this. I don't know that I ever met a Christian while I was a Christian, it certainly doesn't apply to me, who believed or took validation from the fact that others believed, at least not explicitly.
Right.
Implicitly, when you're running with the herd, that type of implicit validation, yeah, if that's what you meant, then I'm on board with that. But by and large, to say that, everybody else has believed it, so I'm going to believe it too, I don't think that represents a significant portion. I think they've been convinced by something else.
You find that argument occasionally when you've got a theist who's obviously losing an argument, and they throw that out there as like, well, everybody else believes this. Are you saying all these other people are wrong?
Yep.
And that's just an argument from popularity. So,
Sorry.
Anyway.
That was a redundant question, I guess. I didn't have to say yep. But
Anyway.